February 19, 1994. An ordinary evening at Riverside General Hospital in California would soon descend into chaos, sparking one of the most baffling medical mysteries of our time. It's the story of Gloria Ramirez, a woman who would posthumously be known as the Toxic Lady. Gloria was rushed to the emergency room, suffering from advanced cervical cancer. She was confused, her breathing was shallow, and her heart was beating far too rapidly. The medical team sprang into action, following standard procedures to stabilize her. But what happened next was anything but standard. It was something straight out of a science fiction movie. A nurse, Susan Kane, was the first to notice something was off. As she prepped Gloria's arm to draw blood, she detected a strange oily sheen on Gloria's skin. Others in the room noticed it too, along with a bizarre, fruity, almost garlic-like odor coming from Gloria's mouth. This was unusual, but not yet alarming. The real alarm bells started ringing when Susan drew Gloria's blood. Inside the vial, the blood wasn't just blood. It emitted a chemical, ammonia-like smell that was so pungent it made Susan feel lightheaded. She passed the vial to Maureen Welch, a respiratory therapist, who confirmed the strange odor. But then, things escalated dramatically. Susan suddenly collapsed. She was convulsing on the floor. Shortly after, Maureen also fainted. Then, Julie Gurchinsky, a medical resident, started feeling dizzy and nauseous. She left the trauma room, but moments later she collapsed too. Chaos erupted. One by one, the medical staff who had been in close contact with Gloria or her blood began falling ill. Their symptoms were terrifyingly similar: dizziness, nausea, fainting, and in some cases, severe breathing difficulties. The situation spiraled out of control so quickly that the hospital had to declare an internal emergency. The emergency department was evacuated. A hazmat team was called in to decontaminate the area, and the remaining patients had to be treated outside in the hospital parking lot. It was a scene of pandemonium. In total, 23 of the 37 emergency room staff members present that night experienced at least one symptom. 5 were hospitalized. Julie Gurchinsky, the resident who collapsed, suffered the most. She spent 2 weeks in intensive care with breathing problems, hepatitis, and a condition called a vascular necrosis, where her bone tissue began to die, particularly in her knees. Her life was permanently altered by that night. Tragically, despite the heroic efforts of the remaining staff, Gloria Ramirez was pronounced dead less than an hour after her arrival. But her death was only the beginning of the mystery. What had happened in that ER? What could have possibly turned a human body into a source of such potent toxicity that it could incapacitate an entire medical team? The initial investigation was a whirlwind of confusion and speculation. Was it mass hysteria? A toxic spill within the hospital? Was the hospital's ventilation system to blame? The county sent in a team of investigators, but they couldn't find any leaked toxins or contaminants in the ER. Every test came back negative. A mass hysteria theory was floated, suggesting that the stress of a chaotic emergency, combined with a strange smell, triggered a chain reaction of psychosomatic symptoms among the staff. But the medical professionals who fell ill vehemently rejected this. Their symptoms were real, measurable, and in some cases, life-altering. You don't get bone necrosis from a panic attack. So if it wasn't hysteria and it wasn't a leak in the hospital, the source had to be Gloria Ramirez herself. But how? The initial autopsy, conducted in a specially designed sealed chamber by a team in hazmat suits, was inconclusive. They couldn't pinpoint a single substance in her body that could explain the bizarre events of that night. For weeks, the case remained a complete enigma. The media frenzy was intense. dubbing Gloria Ramirez the toxic lady. Her family was devastated, not only by their loss but by the bizarre and sensationalized nature of her death. They insisted Gloria was a normal person, not some kind of chemical anomaly. It wasn't until scientists from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, one of the country's premier forensic science facilities, took on the case that a plausible, albeit extraordinary, theory emerged. They pieced together the puzzle, starting with one crucial detail: the oily sheen and garlic-like smell. They proposed a hypothesis that reads like a one-in-a-million chemical fluke, a perfect storm of reactions happening inside Gloria's body. The theory centers on a substance called DMSO, or dimethyl sulfoxide. DMSO is a powerful solvent that was once promoted as a cure-all home remedy, often used as a topical gel for pain relief. It's known to have a distinct garlic-like taste and smell when absorbed by the body. The investigators theorized that Gloria, suffering from the intense pain of her cancer, might have been using DMSO gel extensively. This would explain the oily sheen and the garlicky odor that the nurses first noticed. Now this is where the chemistry gets really interesting. When someone uses DMSO, their body metabolizes it into a compound called dimethyl sulfone. The autopsy did find a significant amount of dimethyl sulfone in Gloria's system. This on its own is harmless. But here's the kicker. Gloria was also suffering from kidney failure due to her cancer. This means her body couldn't flush out toxins. Why so? The dimethyl sulfone would have built up in her blood to unusually high concentrations. So we have a body full of dimethyl sulfone. Then, in the ER, the paramedics and doctors administered 100% oxygen to help her breathe. The Livermore scientists theorized that this blast of oxygen, combined with the electrical shocks from the defibrillator used to restart her heart, could have triggered a highly unusual chemical reaction. It could have converted the harmless dimethyl sulfone into something far more dangerous: dimethyl sulfate. Dimethyl sulfate is not something you ever want to be around. It is a highly toxic, corrosive, and carcinogenic chemical. It was even used as a chemical warfare agent during World War I. It's a potent poison that is readily absorbed through the skin, eyes, and lungs. And its effects? Vapor exposure causes severe damage to the respiratory system, convulsions, delirium, and paralysis. Sound familiar? The symptoms experienced by the ER staff perfectly matched the known effects of exposure to dimethyl sulfate. According to this theory, when the nurses drew Gloria's blood, the drop in pressure and temperature inside the cool syringe would have caused the dimethyl sulfate to crystallize and turn into a gas. Those manila-colored crystals the nurse saw floating in the blood, that could have been the dimethyl sulfate. The ammonia-like smell? The vaporized chemical weapon, escaping the syringe and spreading invisibly through the trauma room, poisoning everyone in its path. It's a truly wild theory, a sequence of unfortunate events and freak chemical reactions that are almost too incredible to be true. A woman in her final moments unknowingly becomes a walking chemical laboratory, producing a potent poison. It's important to state that this is still a theory. It has never been definitively proven. To do so would require recreating the exact conditions, which is both practically impossible and ethically unthinkable. The Ramirez family has always disputed the DMSO theory, stating they never saw her use it. No container of DMSO was ever found in her home, so the mystery, in a way, remains unsolved. The Riverside coroner's office ultimately listed the cause of death as heart failure due to cervical cancer, but they also endorsed the dimethyl sulfate theory as the most likely explanation for the incident in the ER. They called it an extremely rare event, unlikely to ever happen again. The case of Gloria Ramirez is a chilling reminder of how little we sometimes know, and how can sometimes produce a mystery stranger than any fiction. It's a story of tragedy, of medical heroism in the face of unknown, and a scientific puzzle that continues to fascinate and haunt us to this day. What really happened in that emergency room? Was it a 1 in a billion chemical reaction or something else entirely? We may never know for sure. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's strangest mysteries. See you in the next one.